A young widow betrayed by family and sold to outlaws. Rescued by a brave Cheyenne chief, Anna sat on the small wooden porch of her little farmhouse, staring at the fading horizon as the sun dipped behind the distant hills. The air smelled of dust and dry grass, a scent that reminded her both of home and of loss. Since her husband Jacob had passed away suddenly from a fever the previous winter, life had become a heavy burden she did not know how to carry. The house, once full of laughter and warmth, felt hollow, echoing with the memory of voices that would never return. She touched her fingers to the cold wood of the railing, trying to feel something real, but all she could feel was emptiness. She had been just 22 when Jacob died. They had been married for only 3 years, yet in that short time she had loved him with all her heart. The farm they had dreamed of building together now lay in silence. Crops withered under the sun, animals went hungry, and the once lively fields looked abandoned, as if even the earth had given up on her. The townspeople were kind, for the most part, but kindness and passing glances and polite words did not fill the deep ache in Anna's chest. They whispered behind closed doors, saying things she could hear from across the street. Poor girl, alone now, or she must be careful. Some families take advantage of widows. Anna's own family, who she had once trusted, seemed unusually distant. Her uncle, whom she had always looked to for advice, avoided her eyes during visits. Her cousins, once playful companions in her youth, no longer laughed with her. Something in their demeanor made her uneasy, though she could not yet name it. Days passed in the rhythm of survival. Anna woke early, fed the animals, tended to the small garden, and tried to keep the farmhouse in order. But no matter how hard she worked, the weight of grief pressed down on her shoulders. Often she would pause in the middle of chores and look toward the hills, imagining Jacob standing there, smiling, telling her everything would be fine. She longed to hear his voice just one more time. It was during one of these quiet afternoons that her family came to visit. Anna had expected comfort, maybe a hand extended to help with repairs or to share a meal. Instead, she was met with smiles that did not reach the eyes. Her uncle, a stern man with a permanent frown etched into his face, spoke first. "Anna, you are young, and life is hard for a widow alone. Perhaps it is time to consider new arrangements," he said, carefully measuring each word. Anna frowned. She had heard these words before in stories from other widows, but she had never imagined them aimed at her. "New arrangements? What do you mean?" she asked, though her voice trembled slightly. Her aunt leaned forward, her fingers drumming lightly on the table. "There are people who could take care of you, people who could offer you security. You wouldn't have to struggle alone anymore." Anna felt a chill creep up her spine. She had not expected this. Her family was speaking as if she were a piece of property, something to be given away for convenience. But she tried to stay calm. "I appreciate your concern," she said softly, "but I can manage. I want to keep my life, my farm, the home Jacob and I built together. I am not ready to be given to someone else." Her uncle's eyes narrowed, and her aunt's lips tightened. "Anna, it is not just about your wishes. You must think of your future. You are weak now, and people will take advantage if you remain alone. This is for your safety." Safety. The word lingered in the air, tasting bitter. Anna's stomach churned. She had always trusted her family, even when small doubts surfaced in the corners of her mind. But now, as she looked at their determined faces, she realized something terrible. Their kindness was false. Their eyes held calculation, not concern. Over the next few days, subtle changes made her unease grow. Her cousins would visit and whisper among themselves, shooting glances at her when they thought she wasn't looking. Her uncle would make comments about her inability to manage alone, always framing it as advice, but Anna knew better. She began noticing small details, the way her family counted her money when she wasn't around, the way they praised strangers in front of her, as if planning something she could not yet see. One evening, as the sun sank low and painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, Anna found herself walking near the edge of the farm where the tall grass swayed with the wind. Her heart felt heavy, and she could not stop thinking about Jacob. She whispered his name into the open air, and the wind seemed to carry it away. But then she noticed movement, a shadow slipping through the grass. Her pulse quickened, but she stayed still, straining to see. It was one of the men her uncle had mentioned, strangers who offered security and protection. But they were not men of kindness. They carried themselves with a cruel confidence, and Anna felt a shiver of fear. Before she could react, they approached, smiling in a way that did not reach their eyes. "Anna," one of them said softly, "your family has spoken of helping you. We can take care of everything." Something in his voice made Anna's stomach knot. She instinctively stepped back, but they advanced, their hands reaching toward her. She realized then, in a rush of horror, that she had been betrayed. Her own family, those she had loved and trusted, had arranged for her to be taken. She wanted to scream, to run, but the men were fast and strong, closing the distance before she could react. Anna's mind raced. She remembered stories from other women, tales of outlaws and men who kidnapped and sold those who could not protect themselves. Could her life really have come to this? Could those she had called family truly hand her over to strangers? The betrayal cut deeper than any physical harm could. Tears stung her eyes, but she refused to cry openly. She needed to think, to survive. She remembered Jacob's lessons, his words when she had felt afraid in smaller ways. "You are stronger than you think, Anna. Never forget that." She held on to that memory tightly, letting it steal her courage even as the men closed in. Her first night in captivity was the darkest. The outlaws did not speak kindly. They treated her like an object, giving her food and shelter only as necessary to maintain control. Anna lay on the hard floor, listening to the sound of footsteps, whispers, and distant laughter. She could not believe that this was her life now. Alone, betrayed, and at the mercy of strangers who cared nothing for her feelings. Yet even in that darkness, a spark of determination burned. Anna resolved not to surrender entirely to despair. She observed her captors closely, learning their routines and habits, noting every detail she could use if an opportunity arose. She remembered her grandfather's stories of resilience and survival on the frontier, tales of women who had endured great hardship and come out stronger. Anna told herself she could be one of those women. The days that followed were a mixture of fear, confusion, and growing awareness. She realized that anger at her family would not save her, but cleverness and courage might. She watched for moments when the outlaws were distracted, noting the layout of their camp and the tools they carried. Every small observation felt like a victory in a world where she had so little control. At night, she would look at the stars, remembering the nights she and Jacob had spent talking under the same sky. Somehow, that memory gave her hope. The universe was vast, and in its vastness, perhaps help could come from unexpected places. She did not know when or how, but she would survive. Anna's life had changed in an instant. From the safety of her family's home, she had been thrust into a harsh reality, one where betrayal and danger lurked at every turn. Yet even as fear threatened to consume her, a seed of resilience grew. She was no longer just a widow grieving her loss. She was a young woman learning to navigate treachery, to survive in a world that had shown her its cruelest face. And so, beneath the cold starlight and the quiet whispers of the wind through the trees, Anna made a silent promise to herself. She would endure. She would find a way, and she would not let those who betrayed her break her spirit. For in her heart, the memory of love and the strength of her own will burned brighter than any darkness that surrounded her. The morning sun barely peeked over the horizon when Anna awoke to the rough floor beneath her. Her head ached, and her body felt heavy from exhaustion. She had spent the night listening to the outlaws' voices, the shuffling of boots, and the occasional laughter that made her stomach twist with fear. She tried to remember the last time she had felt safe. Her home, her husband, the familiar creak of the porch, and a wave of sadness washed over her. But sadness alone would not save her. She had to be clever, alert, and strong. The outlaw who had brought her to the camp, A tall man with sharp eyes named Briggs approached first. His face was lined with years of hard living, but there was something cunning in his gaze. "Wake up, girl!" he barked. "Time to eat. You'll need your strength." Anna nodded silently. She followed him to a small clearing where the others had gathered. The camp was a rough place, built with little care for comfort. Tents leaned at odd angles, and fire pits were scattered around, smoke curling into the sky. The outlaws moved with confidence, as if the world belonged to them alone. Anna kept her eyes low and her hands still, aware that any sudden movement could draw unwanted attention. She was given a small portion of bread and water, which she ate quietly. Her stomach protested at the meager meal, but she forced herself to eat. Hunger was a dangerous weakness, and she needed every ounce of strength. While the outlaws ate and joked loudly, Anna's mind worked swiftly. She observed every detail: who slept near the edge of the camp, who carried weapons, and the times when the outlaws were distracted. Days passed in a blur of fear and caution. Anna was never left alone for long, and the outlaws watched her like hawks, ensuring she understood her place. Yet, even among such cruelty, Anna found tiny moments of humanity. One morning, while fetching water from a nearby stream, she noticed Briggs struggling to lift a heavy bucket. Without thinking, she stepped forward and offered help. He grunted, clearly surprised by her action, and accepted. For a brief moment she saw a flicker of something that resembled gratitude in his eyes. Despite the harshness of her surroundings, Anna began to adapt. She learned the patterns of the camp, noting when guards were least attentive and when the others' tempers flared. She discovered that patience and silence were her greatest allies. Any rash move could provoke violence, but careful observation offered opportunities. Every day she stored small pieces of knowledge in her mind, like a map she could use if she ever escaped. The outlaws were not uniform in their cruelty. Some, like Briggs, were rough, but not malicious. Others, however, seemed to take pleasure in intimidation, using harsh words and threats to remind Anna of her powerlessness. She learned to navigate these personalities carefully, speaking only when spoken to, and moving only when necessary. Each interaction was a lesson, a chance to understand the people who held her captive. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Anna sat near the fire, feeling the warmth on her face. She listened to the outlaws' laughter and stories, tales of their exploits across the frontier. At first she had feared their words, but now she found them strangely fascinating. She realized that understanding them could be a form of protection. She remembered stories from her grandfather about the importance of knowing people's strengths and weaknesses. Perhaps, she thought, these stories could help her survive. Anna also found solace in the small routines she created. She washed the dishes, swept the tent, and tidied her small sleeping area. Each act of care gave her a sense of control in a life that seemed otherwise dominated by fear. She began to find small joys where she could, watching the sunrise, listening to the wind rustle through the trees, and remembering her husband's laughter. These moments, though fleeting, reminded her that she was still human, still capable of hope. Over time, she noticed a pattern in the outlaws' movements. They often left the camp for days at a time, chasing rumors of wealth or avoiding the law. During these absences, Anna could move slightly more freely, exploring the perimeter of the camp and studying the landscape. She discovered paths leading through the woods and streams that could provide water if she ever escaped. Each observation was a seed of hope, a reminder that she was not entirely powerless. Her nights were the hardest. Alone in her tent, the darkness seemed to stretch endlessly. Shadows moved in the corners of her mind, and fear threatened to overwhelm her. But Anna refused to let it. She remembered Jacob's words about courage, about holding on to hope even when the world seemed bleak. She whispered to herself in the dark, promising that she would not give up. She imagined a future where she was free again, tending her farm, living in the sunlit fields, and perhaps even finding happiness once more. Anna also began to notice the little kindnesses among the outlaws, subtle gestures that suggested they were not entirely without conscience. a shared piece of bread, a moment of silence during an argument, a look of hesitation before cruelty. These small acts reminded her that even in the darkest places, humanity could exist. She clung to these glimpses, using them to bolster her resolve. Despite the fear and hardship, Anna's mind remained sharp. She began to plan, thinking of ways to gain the trust of certain outlaws without giving away her intentions. She observed their weaknesses, noting who could be persuaded, who could be distracted, and who was completely unyielding. Every day she rehearsed scenarios in her mind, imagining escapes and strategies. Though she had no immediate way out, preparation gave her a sense of power in a situation where she had very little. One afternoon, a young outlaw named Finn approached her. He was quieter than the others, with eyes that seemed to hold a hint of curiosity rather than cruelty. "You don't belong here," he said softly, almost as if speaking to himself. Anna looked at him cautiously, unsure if she could trust his words. But there was something in his tone that gave her a small flicker of hope. Perhaps not everyone in the camp was as harsh as they appeared. Anna began to rely on her instincts more than ever. She learned to read expressions, body language, and subtle cues. If an outlaw's hand twitched toward a weapon, she stepped back. If their voice hardened, she remained silent. Each day, her survival depended on careful observation and quick thinking. Her fear never disappeared, but it transformed into vigilance, a tool she could use to protect herself. Weeks passed, and Anna grew stronger in mind and body. The daily routines of the camp, once terrifying, became predictable. She learned to anticipate danger, to avoid it when possible, and to use small acts of cleverness to navigate the outlaw's world. She never lost hope, even on the darkest nights when the wind howled through the trees and the firelight cast eerie shadows across the tents. Her spirit, though battered, was unbroken. Anna began to dream of a day when she could return to freedom, when she could once again walk among the fields she had tended with her husband. She imagined a life where betrayal could not touch her, where fear was replaced with safety, and where hope was not a fragile thread but a strong rope she could hold on to. One night as she lay on the hard floor of her tent, Anna whispered to herself, "I will survive. I will find a way, and one day I will be free." The words, though soft, carried the weight of her determination. They were a promise to herself, a vow that no matter the darkness surrounding her, she would not be defeated. In the harsh world of the outlaws, Anna had found a way to endure. She had discovered resilience she did not know she possessed, courage that grew in the face of danger, and hope that burned even when everything seemed lost. Each day brought new challenges, but also new lessons, and with every observation, every careful step, every quiet moment of courage, Anna moved closer to the day when she would reclaim her life. Though fear remained her constant companion, so did a quiet strength. In the camp of outlaws, where trust was rare and danger ever present, Anna learned to rely on her mind, her instincts, and the memory of love that had once filled her life. She would not be broken. She would survive. And somewhere on the vast frontier, beyond the reach of betrayal and cruelty, freedom waited for her. Anna had grown cautious, careful, and alert during her days among the outlaws. She had learned to read their moods, understand their routines, and quietly survive. But nothing could have prepared her for the change that arrived one cool morning, carried on the wind and the distant sound of hooves. It started with a sense of unease. Anna was sitting near the fire, quietly cleaning the few belongings she had, when she noticed unusual movement at the edge of the clearing. Outlaws rarely left the camp's perimeter, and strangers even less so. A small group of riders appeared on the horizon, their horses moving with calm purpose, their figures upright and confident. The outlaws noticed too, and a tension filled the air that made Anna's heart pound in her chest. Briggs, the tall man who had first brought her to the camp, muttered under his breath, "Visitors? Out here? On our land?" His hand rested on the hilt of his knife, and the other men began to gather, some laughing nervously, others sharpening their weapons. Anna could sense fear in the camp for the first time, though she did not yet understand its source. The riders drew closer, and Anna finally saw the man leading them. He was unlike anyone she had ever seen. Tall and strong, with a calm, steady gaze, his presence seemed to command respect even without words. His hair was dark and straight, tied carefully behind his head, and his eyes shone with intelligence and quiet authority. This was no ordinary man. He rode with a small group, clearly his people, and Anna noticed the way the outlaws reacted to him. Their laughter died in their throats and whispers ran through the camp. It was clear this man was someone they feared and respected. Anna's heart leapt with a flicker of hope she had not dared to feel in weeks. Could this stranger bring the freedom she had longed for? The man dismounted gracefully, and Anna saw him step closer to the campfire, his gaze sweeping over the outlaws as though he could see everything. Their intentions, their fears, their secrets. He spoke, and his voice was calm, firm, and commanding. "You have someone in your care who does not belong to you," he said. "Release her, and no harm will come to you. Keep her, and face consequences you cannot imagine." The outlaws glanced at one another, uncertain. Some laughed nervously, others sneered, trying to appear brave. Briggs stepped forward, his knife glinting in the morning sun. "And who are you to tell us what to do?" he demanded, though his voice carried a hint of doubt. "I am Tall Elk," the man replied steadily. "Chief of my people, I do not ask lightly, and I do not threaten without reason. The woman you hold is under my protection now." Anna felt a shiver of relief. The name alone carried strength. Tall Elk was no ordinary man. She could feel it. She remembered stories she had heard from settlers and travelers about the Cheyenne, about their bravery, honor, and sense of justice. And now, in this remote clearing, she saw it for herself. The outlaws hesitated, uncertainty flickering across their faces. They were used to fear and violence ruling the frontier, but here was a man whose presence alone commanded respect. Briggs tightened his grip on his knife, but his stance wavered. "Enough," Tall Elk said, his voice rising slightly, firm but calm. "Let her go. You will not gain from harming her." A tense silence filled the air. Anna held her breath, her heart hammering in her chest. She had endured weeks of fear and cruelty, yet now she dared to hope. Slowly, almost reluctantly, Briggs signaled to the others. One by one they stepped back, leaving a clear space around her. Anna felt tears well in her eyes, but she blinked them away. She had never imagined such freedom would come without struggle. Yet here it was, offered by a man who seemed to carry justice itself in his calm, unwavering gaze. Tall Elk approached her slowly, kneeling just enough so that his eyes met hers. "Anna," he said softly, "you are safe now. You have nothing to fear." Her lips trembled as she nodded, unable to speak. The weight of weeks, the fear, the betrayal, the loneliness pressed on her heart, and for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to feel relief. She stepped forward cautiously, and Tall Elk extended his hand. She took it, feeling warmth and strength in his grip, a reassuring presence she had not known she needed. The outlaws, realizing resistance was useless, began to scatter. Some fled on horseback, others melted into the woods, leaving the camp silent except for the sound of horses and the quiet wind through the trees. Anna looked around the camp, the place that had been both prison and classroom, and she felt a strange mixture of fear, relief, and sadness. She had endured much here, but now she was free from its hold. Tall Elk guided her to one of the horses. "You must ride with us," he said. "The journey will be long, but you will be safe with my people." Anna mounted carefully, her hands gripping the reins. The horse's muscles flexed beneath her, steady and sure. For the first time in weeks, she felt the strength of movement, the freedom to leave behind the camp and the horrors it had held. As they rode, Tall Elk kept a watchful eye on the surroundings, ensuring no threat approached. Anna glanced at him from the corner of her eye. There was a calmness in his expression that eased her tension. He was not only brave but careful, thinking of her safety before his own. She felt a surge of gratitude and admiration for this man who had come like a guardian from the horizon. The journey through the plains was long, but Anna's fear gradually gave way to wonder. She had seen these lands before, from the edges of the farm, but now she experienced them in a new way. The sun painted the sky in brilliant oranges and reds. Rivers sparkled like silver in the distance, and the wind carried scents of pine, earth, and freedom. Every mile she traveled felt like a step toward reclaiming her life. Tall Elk spoke occasionally, telling stories of his people, their customs, and their connection to the land. Anna listened, fascinated. For the first time she felt the warmth of human kindness, of someone who respected her and someone whose words carried wisdom rather than threats. She asked questions, and he answered patiently, never rushing her. By the time night fell, they reached a small clearing where his people had set up camp. Fires glowed warmly, and smoke curled into the dark sky. Anna dismounted, feeling the stiffness of travel in her muscles. But she also felt a lightness in her chest she had not known in weeks. She was surrounded by people who welcomed her without suspicion, without judgment, without fear. Tall Elk introduced her gently to his people. They smiled kindly, offered food and water, and allowed her space to rest. For the first time, Anna felt truly seen, not as property, not as a burden, but as a human being. She sat by the fire, feeling the warmth seep into her bones, and let herself breathe deeply. The journey had been long, but for the first time she felt the possibility of safety, of healing, of life beyond fear. That night, as Anna lay on a soft bed of blankets provided by Tall Elk's people, she thought of the outlaws, the betrayal of her family, and the weeks of terror she had endured. She also thought of the man who had appeared like a guardian angel, who had risked everything to save her. Her heart swelled with gratitude and admiration. But she also felt a quiet determination. She would not let her past define her. She would learn, grow, and reclaim her life fully. Tall Elk sat near the fire, keeping watch. Anna watched him in the firelight, noticing the steady rhythm of his breathing, the calmness in his eyes. She realized that courage was not only in acts of strength, but in patience, wisdom, and compassion. Tall Elk embodied all of these, and she felt lucky to be under his protection. Days passed, and Anna began to adjust to life in the Cheyenne camp. The people were respectful, kind, and welcoming. They shared stories, taught her survival skills, and allowed her to regain confidence in herself. Anna felt a sense of belonging she had not known since her husband's death. She learned to fish, forage, and ride horses across the plains. Each day she grew stronger, more confident, and more connected to the people who had saved her. Despite her new surroundings, Anna never forgot the fear she had endured or the betrayal she had suffered. But she used those memories not as chains but as lessons. She learned the value of vigilance, the importance of trust, and the strength of resilience. And she realized that, sometimes, the kindness of strangers could change a life entirely. By the time a full week had passed in the camp, Anna knew one thing for certain. She was safe. She had survived weeks of fear and betrayal, and now she had found protection, guidance, and hope in a man named Tall Elk and his people. The frontier was still wild, full of danger and uncertainty, but Anna had discovered a truth she would carry with her forever. Courage, kindness, and resilience could overcome even the darkest moments. The morning sun rose slowly over the plains, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and gold. Anna woke to the gentle warmth of sunlight on her face, a comfort she had not felt in weeks. The wind whispered through the tall grass, carrying the scent of earth and wildflowers, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of peace. She sat quietly, listening to the sounds of the Cheyenne camp, the low murmur of voices, the soft rustle of horses' hooves, and the faint crackle of fire. Here, for the first time, Anna felt a sense of safety that was more than just the absence of danger. Tall Elk was already awake, sitting beside the fire and sharpening a tool with careful, steady movements. When he noticed Anna stirring, he smiled gently. "Good morning," he said, his voice calm and kind. "Sleep well?" Anna nodded, feeling a warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with the fire. She had grown used to being watched, being guarded, being alert every hour of every day. But with Tall Elk, she sensed no threat, no demand, only patience. "Yes," she replied softly. "Thank you." He nodded and motioned toward the fire. "Breakfast is ready. Join us." Anna rose slowly, stretching muscles stiff from travel and long nights of worry. As she walked toward the fire, she noticed other members of the camp moving with grace and confidence. Children ran barefoot across the soft grass, laughing, while elders tended small fires, preparing food or weaving baskets. Everything seemed alive with purpose and harmony. For Anna, it was a stark, chaotic life she had known with the outlaws. Over the next few days, Anna began to learn the rhythms of the camp. Tall Elk's people treated her with respect, offering guidance without pressure and encouragement without judgment. She learned how to prepare food over open fires, how to gather herbs and roots for sustenance, and how to care for the animals that roamed nearby. Each task, though simple, gave her a sense of accomplishment and control that she had lost during her weeks of captivity. Tall Elk remained a constant presence, though never overbearing. He offered instruction when needed, advice when asked, and quiet reassurance at other times. Anna found herself observing him closely, noting the way he treated others with fairness, the patience he showed to children, and the calm authority with which he led his people. Slowly she began to trust him, not just for her safety, but for guidance and friendship. One afternoon, Tall Elk led Anna to the edge of a wide, clear river. The water sparkled under the bright sun, and Anna felt a longing to step closer. "Come," he said gently, holding out his hand. Hesitant at first, she took it, feeling the strength and warmth of his grip. They walked together to the water's edge, where she knelt to touch the cool liquid. It was refreshing, almost magical in its simplicity. For the first time in weeks, Anna felt free from fear, if only for a moment. Tall Elk sat beside her, watching the water ripple around her fingers. "The land provides," he said softly. "It gives us what we need if we respect it. Fear and anger only blind us. You must learn to trust, Anna, not just others, but yourself." She looked at him, surprised by the depth of his words. Trust had been shattered in her life, by her family, by the outlaws, by circumstances beyond her control. But something in his calm gaze made her want to believe him. I want to trust," she admitted quietly. "But it is so hard." Tall Elk nodded understandingly. "I know," he said. "Trust is earned, slowly." "But you have survived much already. Your courage brought you here. That same courage can guide you forward." Over the following weeks, Anna's confidence grew. She helped with daily chores, learning to cook over open fires, to clean and repair clothing, and to assist in caring for the horses. Tall Elk encouraged her to try new tasks, praising her efforts and patiently correcting mistakes. Anna found joy in these small accomplishments, a feeling she had thought lost forever. She also began to form connections with other members of the Cheyenne camp. They shared stories of their lives, of hardships and triumphs, teaching her the history of their people and the wisdom passed down through generations. Anna listened intently, fascinated by their knowledge of the land, the seasons, and the ways to survive in harmony with nature. She realized that she was learning more here than she had ever learned anywhere else, gaining skills and understanding that made her feel capable and strong. Tall Elk often shared meals with her, telling stories of his childhood and the challenges he had faced. Anna listened, captivated by his words, and slowly she began to see him not just as a protector, but as a mentor, a guide, and a friend. His presence was steady and reassuring, and she found herself speaking more openly, sharing memories of her husband, her family, and the hardships she had endured. Each story, each conversation helped her heal a little more, allowing her to release the grief that had weighed so heavily on her heart. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, painting the sky in shades of orange and violet, Anna sat by the fire with Tall Elk and a few others from the camp. They roasted small pieces of meat and shared bread, laughing at stories and jokes. Anna realized how much she had missed simple companionship, the warmth of shared moments, and the comfort of being part of a community. Tall Elk noticed her thoughtful expression and asked, "What are you thinking, Anna?" She hesitated for a moment, then replied, I am thinking I feel safe here. I feel like I belong. I did not believe I could feel that again. Tall Elk smiled softly, placing a reassuring hand on hers. You do belong, he said. You are strong, and you have earned your place among us. Trust yourself as we trust you. The bond between Anna and Tall Elk grew stronger each day. She began to understand his ways, his values, and the deep respect he held for life, family, and community. He never pressured her, but his guidance helped her regain confidence in her abilities. Anna felt herself changing, growing from a frightened, lonely widow into a capable, self-assured woman. In the quiet moments she reflected on the past, the betrayal of her family, the fear of the outlaws, and the weeks of uncertainty. She realized that while those experiences had been painful, they had also taught her resilience, patience, and determination. She had survived because she refused to give up, and now, with the support of Tall Elk and his people, she could finally begin to heal. Anna also began to appreciate the beauty of the land around her. She walked through the plains, observing the flowers, listening to the birds, and marveling at the way the wind moved through the tall grass. She felt a connection to the earth that she had never experienced before, a sense of peace that grew stronger each day. Tall Elk often joined her on these walks, pointing out plants, explaining their uses, and sharing stories of the Cheyenne way of life. Anna absorbed every lesson, feeling more confident with each passing day. She realized that survival was not just about avoiding danger. It was about understanding the world, respecting it, and finding harmony within it. One day, as they returned from gathering herbs, Anna turned to Tall Elk and said, I never thought I would find a place where I feel safe and valued. You and your people, you have shown me kindness I did not know existed. Tall Elk's expression was gentle but firm. Kindness is not weakness, Anna. It is strength. You have survived much, and you have learned to trust again. That is a gift. Anna smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. She realized that she was no longer the same person who had been betrayed and captured. She had grown stronger, wiser, and more resilient. She had learned to trust, to hope, and to find joy in the simplest moments. And most importantly, she had learned that she was not alone. As the days turned into weeks, Anna continued to thrive in the Cheyenne camp. She helped with daily tasks, learned new skills, and became part of the community. Tall Elk remained a constant presence, offering guidance, support, and friendship. Anna felt a deep gratitude for the man who had rescued her and for the people who had welcomed her. One evening, as the camp settled for the night, Anna sat by the fire, watching the flames dance and listening to the wind rustle through the trees. She reflected on her journey, from the grief of losing her husband, to the betrayal by her family, to the fear and captivity among the outlaws, and finally to the safety and warmth of the Cheyenne camp. Each step had been difficult, but each had brought her closer to this moment of peace and belonging. Anna realized that her life had been forever changed, not just by the hardships she had endured, but by the kindness and courage of those who had helped her. She knew that she would carry the lessons of trust, resilience, and compassion with her always. And she understood that while the past could not be changed, the future was hers to shape, with courage, hope, and the support of those who truly cared for her. As she lay down to rest, Anna whispered softly to herself, I am safe. I am strong. I am not alone. The words carried the weight of her journey, a testament to her resilience and the beginning of a new chapter in her life, a chapter filled with hope, healing, and the promise of a brighter future. The seasons had begun to change, painting the plains with colors that shifted from the gold of late summer to the soft reds and browns of early autumn. Anna had grown stronger, wiser, and more confident since her rescue by Tall Elk. The days of fear, betrayal, and captivity felt like a distant memory, though they remained a part of her. She had learned to trust, to care, and to live fully again. One morning Anna awoke to the crisp autumn air and the sound of horses stirring outside. The sun had not yet fully risen and the sky was a soft gradient of blue and pink. She stretched and stepped outside her tent, feeling the cool breeze against her face. The camp was quiet, the calm broken only by the occasional bird song and the low murmur of people preparing for the day. Tall Elk approached, carrying a small bundle of herbs he had gathered. "Good morning," he said gently. "The land is ready for you today, if you wish to explore." Anna smiled. "Good morning." "I would like that," she replied. She had grown to love the plains. The endless horizon, the rustling grass, and the life that seemed to move in harmony with the earth. Each day brought new experiences and new lessons. She felt connected to the land and the people in a way she had never imagined possible. As they walked together, Tall Elk spoke of the seasons, the migration of animals, and the cycles of the land. Anna listened carefully, absorbing every word. She realized that the knowledge she was gaining was more than survival. It was wisdom, a deeper understanding of life, and a way to live with respect and harmony. In the afternoons, Anna helped with the daily tasks of the camp. She prepared food, tended to the animals, and assisted in gathering supplies. Each task was simple but meaningful, giving her a sense of purpose and belonging. She also spent time learning the stories and traditions of the Cheyenne people. They shared tales of courage, of family, and of the importance of community. Anna found herself inspired by these stories, feeling a deep connection to the people who had welcomed her so fully. Tall Elk remained a constant guide and friend. He never forced her to do anything, but he offered advice and encouragement. Anna felt safe in his presence, knowing that he would protect her without expecting anything in return. Over time, she realized that her respect for him had grown into something deeper, a bond of trust, admiration, and quiet affection. One evening, as the camp settled for the night, a messenger arrived from a nearby settlement. Anna's heart skipped a beat as she heard the news. Her family had learned of her rescue, and their betrayal had been exposed. The townspeople spoke of her strength, of how she had survived captivity, and of the courage that had carried her through the darkest times. Anna listened quietly, feeling a mix of emotions. There was relief that justice had been done, and a sense of closure for the betrayal she had suffered. But there was also sadness, knowing that the people who had once been close to her had acted out of greed and self-interest. She realized that she did not need their approval or acceptance to find happiness. She had already reclaimed her life. Tall Elk placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You have endured much," he said softly, "but your strength has brought you here. The past cannot change, but the future is yours to shape." Anna nodded, feeling a warmth in her heart. She knew that she had the power to choose her path, to embrace the life she had found with the Cheyenne people, and to continue growing stronger each day. She no longer felt like a victim of circumstance. She was a woman who had faced adversity and emerged resilient and determined. Over the following weeks, Anna continued to build her new life. She learned to ride horses across the plains with skill and confidence, to track animals, and to forage for food. She shared stories and laughter with the members of the camp, forming bonds that felt like family. Each day, she felt a deeper sense of belonging and purpose. Tall Elk and Anna spent more time together, learning from each other and supporting one another. He taught her the ways of the land, the importance of respect, and the wisdom of patience. Anna shared her own experiences, the lessons she had learned from hardship, and the courage that had carried her through captivity. Together they formed a partnership based on trust, understanding, and mutual respect. One crisp morning as the sun rose over the hills, Anna stood at the edge of the camp and looked out over the plains. The wind carried the scent of wildflowers and the faint sound of rushing water from a nearby stream. She felt a deep sense of peace and gratitude. She had survived unimaginable challenges, and now she had found a life filled with safety, love, and purpose. Tall Elk joined her, standing quietly at her side. "You have come far," he said. "Your courage and determination have brought you here. You are strong, Anna, and you have earned every moment of peace you now feel." Anna smiled, feeling tears well in her eyes. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything, for saving me, for teaching me, for showing me that life can still be beautiful." Tall Elk placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You have always had the strength within you," he said. "I only helped you see it. The life you build from here will be yours alone, guided by your heart and your courage." As the weeks turned into months, Anna's confidence and sense of belonging continued to grow. She became an integral part of the camp, helping with daily tasks, teaching others skills she had learned, and sharing her knowledge and experiences. The people of the camp respected her, admired her resilience, and welcomed her contributions. Anna also found joy in simple pleasures. She rode horses across the open plains, feeling the wind in her hair and the sun on her face. She watched the stars at night, marveling at their beauty and feeling a deep connection to the universe. She sang songs she had learned from the Cheyenne people, laughed with children, and shared meals with friends. Each day was filled with moments of happiness, connection, and growth. Despite the joy she had found, Anna never forgot the lessons of her past. She remembered the betrayal by her family, the fear of the outlaws, and the weeks of uncertainty and captivity, but she no longer allowed those memories to control her. Instead, she used them as reminders of her strength, her resilience, and her capacity to overcome adversity. One day, as she walked through the plains with Tall Elk, Anna spoke of her dreams for the future. "I want to continue learning," she said. "I want to help others who may be in need, and I want to build a life that honors the lessons I have learned." Tall Elk nodded, a proud smile on his face. "You have the courage and wisdom to do all that and more," he said. "The future is yours, Anna, and you are ready to embrace it fully." Anna felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had survived loss, betrayal, and fear, and had emerged stronger, wiser, and more resilient. She had found a community that welcomed her, a mentor who guided her, and a life filled with purpose, joy, and hope. As the sun set over the plains, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange, pink, and purple, Anna stood beside Tall Elk and looked out over the land. She felt a sense of gratitude and peace that she had never known before. She had reclaimed her life, learned to trust again, and discovered the strength within herself to overcome any challenge. That night, as she lay beneath the stars, Anna whispered softly to herself, "I am free. I am strong. I am not alone." The words carried the weight of her journey, a testament to her courage, resilience, and the love and guidance she had received. Anna knew that life would continue to bring challenges, but she also knew that she had the strength to face them. She had learned to trust, to hope, and to embrace the beauty of the world around her. With Tall Elk and the Cheyenne people by her side, she was ready to build a life filled with joy, purpose, and connection. In the quiet of the night, the wind rustling through the tall grass, Anna felt a profound sense of belonging. She had found her place in the world, a place of safety, love, and respect. The trials of her past had shaped her, but they did not define her. She was free, and she would live her life with courage, wisdom, and the knowledge that she was capable of overcoming anything. And so, Anna's journey came full circle, from loss and betrayal to fear and captivity, and finally to healing, trust, and a new life. She had survived and grown stronger. She had found a community that embraced her, a guide who taught her, and a life filled with purpose and hope. The plains stretched endlessly before her, a symbol of freedom, possibility, and the promise of a future she could shape with her own hands. Anna had endured the darkest moments of her life, yet she emerged resilient, courageous, and filled with hope. The world, once frightening and cruel, now held promise and beauty, and with each new day she embraced the opportunity to live fully, to love, to learn, and to create a life that honored the strength and courage that had carried her through every trial.